So it'll be worth having, if you've got a Bible in front of you, it's worth having Revelation kind of 4/5 in front of you. Well, the rumours were swirling. Apparently the secret was out. We had our suspicions. There were just too many coincidences, too many unexpected sightings nearby, too many exotic sounds reverberating through our living room. Dare we believe it? Would the Dodd family be so fortunate? Sidebar, that's my surname. Back onto story. Then one unassuming afternoon, it was confirmed, gobsmackingly confirmed. Mandy, my wife, and the kids, my kids, were driving. I'll stop clarifying now. I think we're on board with what's going on. We're driving less than a kilometre away from our house, less than 600 metres from this here building. They were driving past the most inconspicuous of warehouse. Charcoal, single-tone paint, shuttered windows, roller doors bordered by low-maintenance hedges. Nothing to hint of what lay within. But as they drove past this building, this one fated afternoon, a building driven past countless times before, something was different. Something happened for the first time. Just as they were driving by to their right, giant roller doors opened up, and for one blessed second, Mandy and the kids could peer into the dark recesses of that cavernous warehouse. And as they did so, and as the light switched on, they were met by a rainbow of exotic colours. Verde mantis, that's lime green. Dai Sao, that's vibrantly, nearly glowing hot pink. Papaya orange. Rosa Corsa red. Veda Nero black. But it wasn't just the colours. It was the shapes, from almost impossible angularity to indulgent sweeping arches to sumptuous curves, the gullwing doors, the impossibly wide tyres, the criminally low stance, the carbon fibre, the carbon ceramics, the Alcantara. That door offered a window, a vista, into $100 million worth of exotic cars. From Ferraris to Lamborghinis, Bugattis to Bentleys, Porsches to Paganis. Possibly the most exclusive and expensive collection in our fair state, all 823 metres from our doorstep. My family at that moment, sadly without me, beheld the peak, the pinnacle of mechanised technology, that enchanted mixture of beauty and brutality, visual, oral, sensory delight, art on wheels. Through that door, they were given a revelation, a revealing, for that's what the word means, of glory, wonder, and majesty. And of course you can say, I'm a little excited by this. Turns out most of you aren't, but I am. But as wonderful as that vista was, it pales in comparison to our revelation this morning. What our seer, what our apocalypsist, what our author, John, sees when a door is rolled open for him. Chapter 4, verse 1. After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. And what John sees through that door, as he is transported in body or in spirit, we don't know, into the heavenly realms, what he encounters there puts that car collection in its place. The glory and wonder of that warehouse is less than a dull, spluttering, flickering candle to the incandescent, blazing sun of John's vision. Because what John sees in Revelation 4 and 5, what he is given a vision of, what he has courtside seats to, is nothing less than the very throne room of God himself. And as we saw last week, as Ed wonderfully guided us through that chapter, we saw a most majestic scene, didn't we? Filled with unrivaled majesty, awesome power, dread awe. In fact, so kind of mind-bending is the visual that our visionary, John, scrapes and scrambles for words and images that describe the indescribable. And so John does, as he does throughout Revelation, as we've seen, he uses the most vivid of symbolism, the most wild of imagery. And as we read the vision, we're not meant to think this is kind of a realist portrait. This is a surrealist, this is an impressionist painting. It's not security camera footage of heaven. There's colour, there's movement. There's evocative symbolism from the Old Testament. But behind the colour, behind the movement, he is nonetheless undoubtedly painting a scene of matchless gravity and grandeur. Chapter 4, remember the scene as it was set for us last week. There's God on his throne, arrayed in multi-dimensional, multivalent glory. There's a dazzling rainbow encircling the throne, and then next to God's throne are 4 living creatures, acting like giant throne guardians of unimaginable power. The head of an ox, an eagle, a man, a lion, representing wisdom and strength and speed and rule. And then there are 24 other thrones, occupied by angelic beings known as elders. They're resplendent in white glory with their golden crowns, and from them and from there pours forth the most ferocious display of nature's power. Flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder. Think Cyclone Tracy, think Cyclone Alfred, and then kind of concentrate it to a single point. And then, the backdrop to that, like a giant moat behind the throne, is a sea of glass stretching kind of eternally before it. And again, as Ed really helpfully said last week, don't think tranquil turquoise lagoon of Tahiti, but think raging hostile sea, because ancient glass, ancient crystal wasn't clear, it was rough and imperfect. And so we sit there with our courtside seats to John's courtside seats, and we're left with 2 impressions. One is worship. What do you do when you see something so breathtaking, so spectacular, so iridescent in glory? You give it glory back, don't you? It's reflexive, it's instinctual, it's what the living creatures do. Chapter 4, verse 8. Day and night, they never stop saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come." And think of the scene. It's not like there's some kind of hidden behind the throne, a divine stagehand going, "Remember the lines, boys, remember the lines. Oi, Oxhead, pay attention, it's holy, buddy, it's holy." No, of course not. It's like when you see a magnificent sunset, or a tremendous electrical storm, or you get a window into an incredible car collection. You just say, "Phew." And that's what the living creatures do ad infinitum, forever. Phew. First effect, worship. Second, more problematic effect is distance. Because here's the thing, here's the rub. The effect of the thrones and the angels, the living creatures, the sea of glass, the electrical storm, is that God seems unapproachably, kind of transcendentally other. As my favourite theologian puts it like this, he goes, "Between the throne and us is an array of barriers." And they're insurmountable barriers. And the barriers are key to this morning. Because again, last time I referenced Ed, it was a great sermon though. What Ed really helpfully said last week is that 4 and 5 is like a stage to a play, a scene to a movie. Chapter 4 gives us the setting. Chapter 5 is the drama. And central to that drama are the insurmountable barriers. Because look how our chapter, we're now in 5, this is where we'll stick. Look how our chapter starts. Then I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll with writing on both sides and sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" This is where our drama commences. Because there's a scroll that's held in God's right hand, that is his hand of power. And the question is, who is worthy to open the scroll? But of course, there's a question before that, which is, who can get to the scroll and the throne in the first place? Because it's not just the sea, however you would kind of traverse that. It's not just the thunderstorm. It's not just the elders. It's not just the throne guardians. That is the easy bit. It's impossible, but it's still easy. The harder bit is approaching God in his dread holiness. You see, those 4 living creatures, the eagle, the ox, the man, and the lion, they're kind of, you see them in the Old Testament, the first 2/3 of the Bible. And they are the most powerful, as far as we see, created beings. And we meet them in Isaiah 6. And we learn in Isaiah 6, he's an Old Testament prophet. Like Revelation 4, we learn that they have 6 wings. But only 2 are used for flight. The other 2 are used to cover their faces and their kind of lower half, to shield themselves from the unadulterated glory that is God. If they didn't have the wings as shields, the living creatures, which like inherent in their definition is one of eternality, they live forever, they would die. That is the magnitude of God's kind of volcanic holiness. And so even if we manage to cross the sea, get through the storm, climb the slopes, get past the elder angels, get past the 4 living creatures, we would still just be fried to a crisp within 100,000 kilometres. See, the Bible is unabashedly consistent with this message. God is holy, and we by nature, by sin are not. The evil that lurks in our hearts, the darkness within us, that is like kerosene doused on the body, and God is an open flame. We can't approach him on that basis. In ourselves, we would be toast. There appears to be no hope, and we find out that in verse 3. But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or look inside. Think about it. That is an intentionally kind of comprehensive list. Heaven, earth, under the earth. That means no angel of light, no angel of darkness, no man or woman, dead or alive, no sea creature, no celestial being up there is worthy. That's our plot point. That is the conflict at the heart of Revelation 5. And it is a source of tremendous sadness for our man, our human ambassador into the heavenlies, John. John cries. And the Greek is very clear, this is ugly crying. This isn't kind of reserved one drop and dab the eye and you look classy. This is wailing. I wept and wept. And it's not just John. If you were there, you would cry too. Because you see, the opening of that scroll isn't just like a really cool challenge, first to the post type thing. As we spend our next 10 weeks in Revelation, what we're going to see is what is written on that scroll, the content of it. Now, it's sealed with 7 seals, it says, that signals its authenticity, its legitimacy, and it's important. It's kind of like, it's like double encryption times 7. It's, in the ancient world, the way that you kept the content safe from prying eyes. And it's written on the front and the back, which means that it's fulsome. It's like the full complement, the full plan is on this scroll. And as we read through, we find that what this is that this is God's plot, his plan for the universe. It's his decrees of judgment and salvation, his script, not just for this world and this time and place, but for the world to come too. And if that sounds a little too airy-fairy, a little, I don't know, abstract, put it like this. What's written on that scroll is none other than your heart's deepest yearnings. On that scroll is written the promise that our heart's longing for justice to be done and seen to be done, our desire to see good triumph over evil, our desire to see the defeat of sin, suffering, shame, sickness, Satan, our desire to have that hole in our soul which we're forever putting things into but never makes full, to have that hole filled, to see our God face to face. It's a picture of those barriers removed, the sea crossed, the storm stilled, the angels muted, and those living creatures once blocking, now beckoning us to come and be known and held by God. You see, John weeps, and we would weep, because if the scroll is not taken, if those seals are not broken, if the content is not read out and executed as a plan, then God is forever beyond our reach. Darkness and death win, decay and deceit, destruction endlessly abound. There's no happy ending. There's no promise of everything sad coming untrue. If the scroll is not read, then death is the end, and if death is the end, there is but despair. The 20th century had a number of really great philosophers, many of them atheistic, didn't believe in God. One of the greatest was a guy called Bertrand Russell. You may have heard of him. He was very, very honest in his writings. And he wrote with customary candor the following lines when he reflected on his death and death itself. Russell wrote this: "No fire, no heroism, no intensity of thought and feeling can preserve an individual life beyond the grave. That all the labours of the ages, all the devotion, all the inspiration, all the noonday brightness of human genius are destined to extinction in the vast death of the solar system, and that the whole temple of man's achievement must inevitably be buried beneath the debris of a universe in ruins. Only within the scaffolding of these truths, only in the firm foundation of unyielding despair, can the soul's inhabitation henceforth be safely built." Too long, don't read. If death is the end, then despair is the only response. Any thinking, any feeling person like John would rend their garments, would wail in that moment of soul-rending despair. But as they say, the night is darkest before the dawn, because that moment of despair is but a moment. Because then someone, an angel, speaks to John, and his message, the first message given directly to John in this giant vision is this: cry no more. Rewind the clock to chapter 1. Jesus' first message to John is: do not be afraid, cry no more. The whole vision of this scene of the book of Revelation, and its 4 or its 7 or its 10 visions, however you count it, is all given for comfort and assurance to a church in dire need of it. Because of verse 5. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." It's a simple point, isn't it? There is, in all of the universe and beyond, one being and one being alone who is worthy to take the scroll, to break the seals and bring to life God's eternal plan. It's the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, which is picking up, as John does, a whole bunch of Old Testament imagery to describe the Messiah, the promised King, the Christ. In other words, the angel says, the only one who is able to do it, who is now about to do it, as we'll see, is the Lion Jesus. He is worthy to open the scroll. And on what basis? Because he has triumphed. The word's kind of, it is triumph, but it's kind of almost more visceral. It's kind of more like conquered. Because Jesus has conquered, the Lion has conquered, he can open the scroll. Now, we're not told here what the conquering is, the accomplishment, but we're told from a multitude of places throughout the Bible, before and after this, that he has conquered the enemies of God, the enemies of creation, the 4 S's: sin, shame, suffering, and Satan. 5 if you include Caesar, like Ed from last week. Sin, shame, suffering, and Satan. And if they are the kind of arch nemesis, the darkness to the universe's light, how are they conquered? What massive display of military might, what show of firepower and strength through which he accomplishes? Well, verse 6 tells us, "Then I saw a lamb." In fact, the word actually is and I saw a lamb looking as it had been slain. See, John hears a lion, but then sees a lamb. It's a slain lamb at that. In fact, the word for lamb here means baby lamb, suckling lamb, lambikins. Verse 5, you have the most fearsome creature in the world, the lion, and then in 6 you have perhaps the weakest, little lambikins. And is John confused at this point? Or is Lambikins confused? Did he just kind of wander in from stage left in the previous scene and forget to get out of the way? At the end of last year, my children were in a play, at least 3 of the 4 were in a play. And Lizzie, my third-born, played the role of, it was Ferdinand the Bull. You may have seen the movie, great bull, great play. And Lizzie played the role of Ferdinand's mother, and she dressed up little car, objectively the cutest child, without doubt. And she delivered a line. She was in the first 1 minute of the play, she delivers a really cute line about Ferdinand being brave or something. And then the job was for Lizzie to deliver one line and then step off the stage. But just quietly, Lizzie loves attention. She loves the limelight. She got on stage. She saw everyone basking in her cuteness. She's like, nah, I'm staying. So scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, scene 5. Final scene, for some entirely obscured by Lizzie still on the stage, smiling at the crowd. Proudest moment. But that's obviously not what's going on with the lamb here. No, the point is, the lion is the lamb, right? Jesus Christ triumphs over his enemies in his humility, in his submission, in his willingness to go to an excruciating death as a lamb to the slaughter. See, because this chapter is very clear. The lamb is on the throne. The lamb is God, and the way that Jesus, so to speak, proves his godness is in his meekness. The strength of heaven is found in the weakness, the willingness of the lamb. It's not that he has no power or no strength. No, he's a lion. And verse 7, John does something funky as he does with the lamb. The lamb has 7 horns. Horns symbolize power, strength, authority. And he has 7 eyes, which symbolize perfect sight, which are the 7 spirits of God into all the earth. He's an all-powerful, all-seeing lamb. But he submits himself to a cruel and odious death on a cross. And That's what makes him worthy. That's what proves his godness. Verse 7, he went and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And then, and if you're napping now, you might not be hearing me, but wake up, because what we have here is the most incredible party you have ever heard of. And rightly so. We'll see in a moment, but rightly, remember the setting, the conflict, the scene. But now we hear that God's purposes, his plan, his end game can be put into effect. The answer to our heart's longings will be found. Because of the Lamb, the stain of sin does not last. Because of the Lamb, evil has an expiration date. Suffering and sickness will cease. Because of the Lamb, death one day will die. Because of the Lamb, rather than being stuck behind endless, interminable barriers, creation, humanity can embrace God face to face. As Revelation 21 says, there he wipes away our every tear from our eye. 21 says, we see him face to face. It is party time par excellence in the heavens. In fact, verse 8, we hear that the living creatures and the elders are given harps. Now, sidebar, don't think kind of elegant but kind of rather uptight instrument that you see on stage at a concert hall when you're falling asleep to a concert. No, in the Bible, harps are instruments of joy. Think guitar, think banjo. All of heaven is given a banjo. Now remember, this is figurative, so don't think giant celestial beast with his giant claws kind of plunging a little guitar. Blip, 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 blip. No, I mean, that's cool, but that's not the point. The point is that all of heaven rejoices. And then what we have for the rest of the chapter is almost like it's turned into a film, and you've got three kind of zooming out sequences. Three perspectives. So zoom one is the close-up. It's the synchronon, the inner sanctum. You've got your elders with their harps and the living creatures, and they're carrying bowls of the saints. That's symbolizing all our prayers being answered. And then they have, as Caitlin said, they have a new song. First time ever in the universe this is sung. Chapter 4 song, which was a banging tune, everyone loved it, but that was only about creation. Impressive, but actually more impressive, chapter 5 song, because that's about redemption. You are worthy to take the scrolls, verse 9, and open its seals, because you were slain, and with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people and nation. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on earth. That's only the first frame. Frame 2, lens 2, verse 11. We zoom out to our next field of vision, and that is a kind of numberless infinity of angels. Verse 11, then I looked and heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands and 10,000 times 10,000. They encircle the throne and the living creatures and the elders. It's a picture of all angelic hosts in their glory giving praise. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and praise. That alone would be enough, but it's not enough for John. It's not enough for God, because there is the outer frame, the wide lens, the macro view, which is literally everything. Then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and the sea and all that is in them. That's everyone above, under, below. No one misses out on this song. All creation groaned in 4 and 3 when they recognized their unworthiness, and now all creation rejoiced because someone worthy has stepped up. To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever. I don't know if you've ever had that experience of going to a concert, not a little concert, but like a prop, like a big concert, like 10,000, 20,000, or, Taylor Swift, 150 billion or whatever. And in that moment when you're there and, the tune comes on. For me, it was a Coldplay concert 100 years ago to Viva La Vida. And oh man, the chills, right? You're kind of enveloped. You're swallowed by the sound. You become at one with the people of one voice. And John says that feels so good because that is what you were made to do, but not for a little Coldplay concert of 20,000 people, not for a little Taylor Swift concert of 100,000 people, but for a cosmic, eternal concert of infinite numbers of people. It's a picture of the cosmos vibrating with symphonic worship, of it brimming with delight and joy in Jesus. Eyes filled with tears, hearts filled with joy, God's image bearers finally doing what they were made to do, to reflect his love, to reflect his holiness, to be united to him fully. Well, I'm going to invite the musos. I haven't quite finished. Don't get too excited. Musos are going to come up because we're in a moment going to respond. But I want us to come back as they come up to our frame, to our beginning, our warehouse. As you see, I love cars. And as cool as a Lamborghini Cyan is in its lime green, we weren't made to worship a Lamborghini. We weren't made to worship exotic cars or extravagant houses or erotic experiences or elaborate meals or academic excellence. They are not worthy of worship, nor are the 10,000 other things that make up the Aussie dream: financial security, emotional stability, social credibility, and so on and so forth, etc., etc. Our world might worship these things, but they are objects far too small for us to worship. Worship those things and they bring you down to their size. They shrink you. They hollow you out. As David Foster Wallace famously said, you, when worshipping those things, will die 1,000 deaths before you hit the grave. You have to live for something greater than that. You have eternity placed in your heart, as the Bible says, and only eternity fills it. You need to set your heart on the Lion and the Lamb who is and is at the heart of the universe. Worship him because that is what you were made for. Worship him with your hands, with your heart, with your head, with your dreams, with your imagination, with your income, with every part that is you, because that is the end for which you were made. Is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is he worthy? He is. Let's stand and worship him now.
Do you feel the world is broken? We do. Do you feel the shadows deepen? We do. Do you know that all the dark won't stop, will hide from getting through? We do. Do you wish that you could see it all made new? We do. Is all creation groaning? It is. Is a new creation coming? It is. And is the glory of the Lord to be a light within our midst? It is. And is it good that we remind ourselves of this? It is. Is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? Does the Father truly love us? He does. Does the Spirit move among us? He does. And does Jesus, our Messiah, hold forever those he loves? He does. And does our God intend to dwell again with us? He does. Is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave, he is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave from every people and tribe.